The top stories for the hour. Ethiopia reports success in transforming the economy, engaging development partners for sustained growth. And Ethiopia says it is committed to fight money laundering and illicit financial flows. Hello and welcome to EBC World, the voice of Pan-Africanism. Esme Magdala, see you today's update. Do stay with us. Colombia reopened its embassy in Addis Ababa Wednesday in a ceremony graced by the Vice President Frances Marques Mina and Ethiopia's Foreign Minister Gideon Timotheos. Colombia's action marks a renewed commitment to deepen bilateral relations and expand diplomatic cooperation between the two nations. Vice President Marques, who arrived in Addis Ababa on Monday, August 25, for an official working visit, has held high-level discussions with Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, African Union Commission Chairperson Mohamed Ali Yusuf, and other senior Ethiopian officials. Their engagement reflects Colombia's interest in strengthening partnership not only with Ethiopia but also with the wider African Union. Colombia originally established its diplomatic mission in Addis Ababa in 1967 before closing it in 1974. The successful completion of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam GERD is building national confidence and paving the way for Ethiopia to embark a future mega development project, according to scholars. Speaking to Fana Media Corporation, the scholars underlined that the GERD represents not only a milestone achievement in energy and infrastructure, but also a demonstration of Ethiopia's resilience and capacity to deliver on ambitious undertakings. With its official inauguration only days away, the dam is being hailed as a defining moment in the nation's development journey. Acting President of Arba Minch University, Abdullah Kamal, and a scholar of water diplomacy, said Ethiopia, both at home and abroad, united to make the GERD a symbol of pride and self-reliance. He noted that the project endured significant external pressure, yet prevailed, providing Ethiopia's ability to overcome obstacles and setting a precedent for future development initiatives. He further stressed that the experience gained through the GERD will serve as a foundation for the country to harness its natural resource more effectively in the years ahead. Professor of the International Relations Diplomacy, Telahun Liben, described the GERD as Ethiopia's second Adwa victory, underscoring how the dam reflects the collective determination, unity and reliance of the Ethiopian people. He emphasized that citizens across the nation contributed to the project, making it a genuine expression of national solidarity and commitment. The scholars affirmed that the GERD is more than an infrastructure project. It is a story of unity, patriotism, and shared identity. They said its success, achieved through broad public participation and national determination, will remain a lasting legacy and source of inspiration for generations to come.
Starten wir jedoch direkt hier in der Hauptstadt und geben euch einen Einblick in das Leben in Addis Abeba. Willkommen in Äthiopien.
The Holy Trinity Cathedral Church is the oldest church in Addis Ababa.
The Addis Ababa Light Rail Transit System, the first of its kind in the sub-Saharan Africa, provides
desert land. Even though the land is like super barren, it's still beautiful. It's a long, lengthy journey in between each site, but there is a lot of different kinds of beauty. The volcanic rock, to the desert, to the dry, cracked ground.
ፈገግታ ምሳሌው በጦምቦራ ህብር ሳቴውን ለኩሰን
ያሆዴ ኦ ያሆ እያለች
ኢትዮጵያ ያርዳ ባህር
ያሰብሽው ሳይደርስ ጓዳይ ሳይለማ ያደጋ ዜና ከኢትዮጵያ ማዘን ፍቅሬ እንደበበል ሲፈልቅ ያለም ሲደር ያየበል ያሰብሽው ሳይደርስ ጓዳይ ሳይለማ ያደጋ ዜና ከኢትዮጵያ ማዘን ፍቅሬ እንደበበል
Ethiopia's Green Legacy Initiative has led a significant positive impact, including increased forest coverage and reduced soil erosion, resulting in a more fertile land and improved water availability. Young Africans who were approached by ABC World have said they were astonished with what they witnessed themselves, but felt like it was just a lie when they read the report about the Green Legacy success. They further highlighted Ethiopia has always been a step ahead of other countries and staying true to their words. Tigistar Nessa has talked to them. Take a look.
Well, when you read it in a report and you see the number, you definitely believe it was mistaken or it was a false prediction, you know. But when you arrive to Ethiopia and you move around Addis Ababa and maybe even to move to other cities such as Hawassa, Zuwayeh, Arba Minch, you know, Gambella region, you see that these plantings, these seedings are definitely true. Ethiopia before has been green because of its demographic location and so on, and now it's even more greener.
My take on that is that it's a very amazing thing that the government is currently doing, especially seeding more than 300 million seeds every year. It shows a big change in our climate, and I believe that it will bring a very massive change in the future for Ethiopia's climate, Africans, and generally for the world.
Ethiopia has always been setting, it's always a step ahead in all African countries. And one thing about Ethiopia is that they produce. Whatever they say in the international organizations, they produce. If they have planted the trees, that is a game changer for Africa. It is most of the forests they provide, they are like watershed for the other Eastern African countries. So if they are planting, it means that they are saving more than 5 countries, their neighbors, and so on. So my take on that, I appreciate that, and I congratulate them. They are way forward, and most of the governments, they say that they are planted trees, but when you go to ground, they are not there. Maybe the reports are not adding up, there is a gap, or maybe the money that was given to plant the trees, the seedlings, they just go take a photo in front of a tree, but when you follow the story, it's not there. But for me, Ethiopia has been the best. You can see you can see the results compared to other countries.
This is the open way, mostly thanks to our Prime Minister, Dr. Abiy, for initiating such kind of idea, mostly to eradicate. This shows that Ethiopia is leading in this in the greening and climate change, this contribution to eradicate, mostly to contribute in this building of the generation.
I've seen Ethiopia is not facing any heat challenges since I've come here, because it's my first time being to Ethiopia, and I'm only 6 months here. And from all these months I've been to, I've not seen any climate effects that will affect the plants, especially like heat, because my background, where I've come from, it's very hot to the extent sometimes the seeds will not grow due to the heat, and because there is no good climate. But because I've seen Ethiopia, they are planting trees and they are much concerned about them as well, and it is actually affecting the the climate positively.
If we have such countries in Africa laying in the Western Sahara region, they are so desertous, and they are having big desertification problems. And you look at an example like Ethiopia and the initiative done by Dr. Abiy Ahmed, and how in few years the Ethiopians have been, and I really respect them for that, have really came to this number of seedlings, 40 billion and above seedlings, and they are even giving more seedlings to other countries to contribute to the climate change issues and so on. I think other countries should take these initiatives as, I don't know how to say it, but as a role model initiatives, and they should follow the same exact steps.
What Ethiopia is doing, imagine planting more than 4 billion seedling in less than 4 years or 3 or 5 years. So that one actually shows that we are really working on making something different. I believe in 10 years to come, Africa in general, Ethiopia, it will be a different place. It will be an environment where every human, every living thing can live happily without any problem.
This is Ethiopia's Green Legacy. Our legacy. Your legacy.
Ethiopia's Minister of Finance, Ahmed Shide, describes the past Ethiopian fiscal year as a fruitful year for economic reforms, highlighting robust achievements including 8.4% economic growth and export revenue of $8.3 billion, which is more than double the previous average. The government, together with its development partners, convened today at the Ministry of Finance for the head of agencies meeting to review the nation's macroeconomic reform program under the theme Ethiopia's Macroeconomic Reform Journey, Success and Next Step, marking 1 year since its implementation. The minister also underscored the government's continued commitment to inclusive growth, with 60 billion birr allocated for social safety net, 180 billion for subsidies and salary adjustment for civil servants to safeguard citizens from both domestic and external shock. State Minister of Finance Eyob Tekaling, on his part, highlighted the truly historic reform that are steering Ethiopia's transition from a controlled economy to a modern private sector-led system. While briefing the gathering, he noted that over the past year, significant progress has been achieved through fiscal reform, tax policy enhancement, and state-owned enterprise reform. Foreign exchange earning rose by 33%, while private sector access significantly improved. He emphasized that the challenge was not the availability of foreign exchange itself, but rather its administration and management. The country has also attracted $4 billion in foreign direct investment, ranking second in Africa, and created 4.5 million jobs, it was indicated. Development partners, including the IMF and World Bank, expressed strong support for Ethiopia's reform agenda. World Bank Country Director Mariam Salim praised Ethiopia's transition towards a more open, market-oriented economy, highlighting growth in exports, declining inflation, and increased revenue. She emphasized the importance of sustaining and deepening the reforms. Ethiopia reaffirms its commitment to combat money laundering and illicit financial flaws. The 50th Task Force of Senior Officials meeting of the Eastern and South African Anti-Money Laundering Group commenced at the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa Conference Hall Wednesday in Addis Ababa. Shagai Matao reports.
The Eastern and Southern Africa Anti-Money Laundering Group 50th Task Force Senior Officials meeting kicked off at the United Nations Economic Commission today in Addis Ababa in the presence of Task Force of Senior Officials and delegates from member countries. The group meeting focuses on evaluating the progresses made by member countries in tackling financial crimes and present recommendations for policy inputs. Opening the launch of the 50th Task Force Senior Officials Meeting, Alamtsai Paulos, chair of the National Anti-Money Laundering Committee of Ethiopia, head of Prime Minister's Office and Minister of Cabinet Affairs, underscored the critical role of the gathering to review the effectiveness of member countries in combating money laundering and build stronger anti-money and counter-terrorist financing frameworks across the region. She also indicated that Ethiopia is taking strict measures to tackle money laundering, terrorist financing and illicit financial flows, mentioning legal amendments and institutional cooperations.
To ensure sustained political commitment, the National Anti-Money Laundering Counter-Terrorist Committee was established, bringing 23 national institutions under a whole-of-government approach. The committee provides strategic guidance, interagency coordination, and oversight of Ethiopia's anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing agenda. The role as a national coordinating body is to ensure that Anti-Money Laundering Counter-Terrorist Financing Committee is not treated as a responsibility of one institution, rather as a national priority cutting across law enforcement, regulations, financial supervisions, judiciary, and the private sector.
Chairperson of the Task Force of Senior Officials, Fraser Ayale, for his part indicated that the Senior Officials meeting will assess progresses of member countries in combating financial crimes and forward inputs.
Delegates are hereby invited and are very much encouraged to reflect on the past assessment in the second round, and congratulations for the entire ISAMLAC family as FSRB for having all of our members evaluated within the set timelines and completed during the Ethiopian presidency. I invite members at this task force meeting to reflect on this issue comprehensively and to come up with possible solutions to avoid the possibility of a number of our jurisdictions being grey-listed in the next round of assessments.
Director General of the Ethiopian Financial Intelligence Service, Mulukan Amara, for his part highlighted Ethiopia's commitment to share best experiences and take lessons from others to contain financial crimes.
The Task Force of Senior Officials is the engine room of ISAMLAC, where technical discussion, policy reviews, and strategic guidance take shape before they reach the Council of Ministers. The outcomes of your deliberation this week will directly inform our region AML safety priorities for the coming year. In this context, Ethiopia is committed not only to hosting you well, but also to actively contributing to the substance of the discussions, sharing our own lessons learned, and learning from the experience of our fellow member states.
Executive Secretary of the Eastern and Southern Africa Anti-Money Laundering Group, Fikile Vita, urged member countries to unite in collaboration and partnership to address the growing threat of illicit financial inflows in the region.
We need to change the narrative about our region being associated with grey listing. This can only happen if we strengthen our individual countries' coordination and collaboration mechanism. We need to stop the blame game between agencies and ministries and come together as one for the good of our countries. No amount of training or capacity building will assist us if we do not have cooperation within our own governments.
The Eastern and Southern Africa Anti-Money Laundering Group, with 21 member countries, including Ethiopia, which began to undertake its meeting on the 22nd of August, will continue hosting the 25th Council of Ministers and 8th Public-Private Sector Dialogue until August 13 at Addis Ababa to forge partnership to combat money laundering in the region.
The 15th Annual East African Communication Association EACA conference officially opened Wednesday in Addis Ababa, bringing together media and communication scholars, educators, researchers, trainers, and practitioners from across Africa and beyond for a 3-day event. The opening session was graced by high-profile leaders, including Minister of Government Communication Service Lagasa Tulu, Director General of the Ethiopian Broadcasting Authority Samson Makonnen, President of the Addis Ababa University, Samuel Kifle, and the President of the African Communication Association, Professor Margaret Juko. This year's conference is set to deliberate on emerging issues related to innovation, practice, scholarship, and development in the field of media and communication. Speaking at the opening ceremony, Minister Lagasa Tulu emphasized Ethiopia's historical and ongoing commitment to promoting Africa's unity and integration.
The government of Ethiopia strongly believes that effective communication is essential to strengthen our shared identity, fostering collaboration among nations, and enabling Africans to tell their own stories in their own voices. Ethiopia is exerting unprecedented effort toward achieving regional and continental integration as stipulated in Agenda 2063 of the African Union, with a strong belief and unwavering commitment to see integrated Africa. Ethiopia continued its efforts in strengthening ties with East African nations and beyond through infrastructure connectivity, people-to-people relation, and economic cooperation.
Professor Margaret Juko, President of the African Communication Association, also underscored the central role of media and communication in shaping Africa's narrative.
Indeed, media and communication fraternities are central to construct the agenda, and which is united to foster and drive progress in Africa. This is accomplished through public engagement, such as this one, through debate and participation, particularly in the integration process. Promoting African narratives by showcasing our diverse cultures, successes and challenges, these are all the roles of media and communication.
Participants from various African countries echoed the importance of the conference in fostering continental dialogue and advancing African integration through collaborative communication strategies.
These kind of events are very important for Africans. Together, African scholars coming from different African countries, from different African regions, to exchange, to share their thought, and to reflect regarding media and communication in Africa, and that is very useful in advancing African research on media and communication.
Such events help us to connect, share ideas, discuss, and debate about issues. Africa and the West are too different. We have problems. Africa shares practically the same problems, and I think such conferences help us to unite and come up with solutions for these problems.
To bring us together is really important to make sure that we know our role in promoting the regional integration, not just of East Africa, but the whole of Africa, to bring it together. That can only be done through bringing us all together and make our voices heard so that we can work for a better Africa. This is our mother continent. We need to make sure that our stories are heard, not made by Western journalists, not by Eastern foreigners, but by us Africans.
That's all we had for today's update, but before I go, let's have a recap of the top stories once again. Ethiopia reports success in transforming the economy, engaging development partners for sustained growth. Ethiopia says it is committed to fight money laundering and illicit financial flows. Thank you for tuning in to EBC World, the voice of Pan-Africanism. It was me, Muqadda Al-Aissa, with today's update. Goodbye.